So you're a porn connoisseur, eh? Hi, my name is Luke Vu, clinical psychologist, mental health expert helping young men overcome digital addiction, depression, and anxiety. Today, we're talking about why we are so drawn to novelty and the challenges we might face when it's in the context of consuming porn. Quick disclaimer, I'm not your psych, this isn't treatment, and if you need a psychologist, you should find a registered qualified psych in your area. Why is the human brain always seeking novelty? And what's with all the different porn genres that are out there? Novelty is hardwired to be interesting to the human brain. Novelty is important to survival. The feeling that something is unfamiliar signals to the brain that this thing here is new to the environment and we must assess it for threat or opportunity. So our brains are wired to find novelty important and it drives us to seek it. Novelty underlies new learning and adaptation to the environment, and therefore you'll always attend and even search for novel experiences, just like finding a new movie or a new restaurant. However, your brain also quickly adapts to existing and familiar circumstances. So when it comes to sexual stimuli, there is a type of special hidden program that amplifies sexual novelty, and it's called the Coolidge effect. Sexual novelty, such as different partners, can renew sexual interest when the sexual partner can no longer elicit a response. So what is the brain's reward pathway and how does novelty play into that system? So when people talk about reward pathways, they're usually referring to dopamine, and rightfully so. Dopamine is an important neurotransmitter for motivation. And recent studies also suggest that dopamine plays a role in novelty and learning. A common misconception is that dopamine is a hormone that rewards behavior, but more accurately, it signals the anticipation of pleasure and drives goal-oriented behavior. In short, dopamine is the driving force, the get-after-it signal. In fact, dopamine spikes when the reward is uncertain. Dopamine and its system has evolved over millions of years to drive us to continue hunting for that elusive rabbit in the woods when we're starving, and keep us courting and flirting when we're pursuing the interest of a sexual partner. Now, I want you to think about this ancient system in the modern age. Notice your browsing behavior before deciding on that perfect clip. It might take you a while to find it, and you might be checking a few clips across multiple tabs, across multiple screens, but you're driven to find it, even though rationally you could bail at any time. Why is this important for pornography addiction? It's because pornography is considered to be a supernormal stimulus, a stimulus that is beyond what you would have evolutionarily been adapted to, and so creates an exaggerated response. Modern porn is a perfect storm of endless novelty and rapid calibration. So the search for that perfect clip is the ideal setup for maximum dopaminergic response, and that search never ends. And if you repeat this pattern excessively, we start to see behavioral and neurological changes in this pathway, as observed in other behavioral addictions such as gambling and gaming. So what is the effect of digital consumerism on this need for novelty? Before high-speed internet, porn was difficult, expensive, and inconvenient to access. Imagine what pornography consumption was like for someone 2 generations ago. Typically, he would have physically needed to go to a physical store, manually picked up a magazine, VHS or DVD, pay for it with the store clerk, then he would have had to store it secretly at home, and if he wanted to consume more, he would have needed to repeat this process or wait weeks for new material. His choice would have been restricted by the store catalog, and he would have felt some social constraints going every day. He would have had financial constraints because you have to pay for it, and his search would have been limited due to lack of choice. And if we compare it to modern pornography, it is simply worlds apart. At your fingertips, in your pocket, you can access instantly new porn, new categories, endlessly, for free, in the comfort of your own home, without any constraints. And in fact, pornography is becoming more interactive, more intense, and more immersive. VR, webcam, and integration with synchronized sex toys. So what is happening in the brain when an individual can no longer be aroused by the genres of porn that they typically watch? In the simplest terms, frequent and problematic pornography users adapt to the visual stimulus they consume. They are driven to use pornography, but they don't find the same category as exciting or as satisfying. And this is your standard tolerance and recalibration mechanisms at work. It's the same way you can't watch the same film 100 times, or that brand new car isn't as exciting anymore. So for problematic porn users, the drive to use porn is elevated, but when they use their current categories, that payoff just isn't there. It is theorized that there are some related brain changes involving the reduction of dopamine receptors and decreased sensitivity to rewards and increased tolerance. But in practical terms, because the pornography you are consuming is not satisfying, you're more likely to explore other categories. Now, some of these other categories may elicit emotions such as fear, shock, or disgust, and you might find yourself in taboo categories. Sometimes these categories give you a heightened response through novelty or increased arousal of another emotion, and then you find that exciting and satisfying. So after repeated use, you recalibrate to that clip or that category, and you might find yourself searching for novelty again. Alternatively, you might find yourself using more interactive types of pornography, for example, webcamming, and that comes with other emotional experiences such as being wanted, feeling attractive, having a sense of belonging or community to achieve your usual level of arousal. So at what point does exploration become harmful? And is there a line between eccentric tastes and a problem? So there are two lines to consider. The first is the legality. If the porn that you are consuming is illegal, then red flag straight up, it's an issue. Your porn use is putting you at significant risk of a dramatic and sudden decrease in your quality of life by you being discovered by your social circle and being charged and tried by the relevant authorities. The second line is evaluating your pornography with your own moral and ethical code. Ask yourself, do you feel negative emotions after using that type of pornography? Do you have feelings of shame or disgust? Do you feel a loss of control about that type of pornography? And has it affected your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors in a negative way? And would you choose that type of pornography if you weren't in an aroused state? Pornography is a way to safely explore sexual desires and fantasy and enhance sexual communication, but it needs to enhance your quality of life, not impair it. Is having an extreme but legal taste in porn objectively bad? I think the term extreme is subjective, and for some porn users, porn is the only way they can explore or express their sexual desires that otherwise wouldn't be suitable to engage in real life. Porn can reflect your values, or it can distort your preferences so that it can no longer align with your values. In the latter case, that's when I think the category of porn can be unhealthy. What should I do if I'm aroused by a genre of porn that I don't want to be aroused by? Clarify to yourself, does this type of pornography reflect your desires, or was this something that you built up towards? Most pornography preferences are actually quite malleable, and as you regulate your use by sticking to categories that you enjoy and feel good about, you'll likely find that over time, your preferences will reflect your patterns. You can reduce your overall frequency and volume of use, and that would also help you resensitize to your green light categories. It is possible that you might not forget about that particular genre, but you can definitely choose how you engage or disengage with it. Novelty can also work in your favor as you find more green light categories that are more aligned with your values and ethical code. When should I seek professional help, and what are some of the warning signs? Well, some signs include a sense of loss of control, repeated failed attempts to stop, significant negative impacts on your quality of life and relationships, negative emotions, thoughts, and beliefs related to your porn use, or if you're finding your mood and anxiety symptoms are escalating because of your porn use. So if some of these signs apply to you, then it's worth scheduling an appointment with your mental health care professional for an opinion. I hope this helped you better understand novelty and its role in problematic porn use. And if you found this useful, don't forget to hit subscribe. I'm Luke Vu. Be kind, be you. Catch you next time.